Hi everyone, I'm at my family's farm in Walker, and it's been a pretty great few days being disconnected and showing my 18-month-old son cows and sheep and the outback because he's a huge outdoors boys boy. But I wanted to take some time to talk about co-working and flex because why not? I do feel like you think differently in different environments, and it doesn't get much more different than this. So today I wanted to address mainly something I've been asked about a lot. How do you make some of those smaller sites work? Sub 1,000 square meters and below. Because majority of the traditional co-working models and even business models that we've looked at on this channel have been a certain economies of scale. So like 2,000 square meters and above. So I thought it would be pretty cool to just tinker with one. Maybe not have a complete conclusion because it is quite nuanced depending on your location and requires you to really look into the idiosyncrasies of your site. But currently I've got on my screen, I believe it's a 2,400 square meter site. It's your usual desk density, which is why when you look below at the market rent equivalent, it's in the green, right? We're $100 over the rent, which is a great scenario. But if you look on this tab here, and this model, you can actually get a free version in the description of the YouTube channel. If you'd like the unlocked version, just reach out to me and we can have a chat about that. But you can see there's a bunch of key performance assumptions I've got in here, like headcount, percentages, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll start tinkering there. The first thing I want to do is let's go with a 1,000 square meter site. Okay, that doesn't mean immediately we've got 166 desks. In my experience, across all sites that are small, your desk density ratio is going to be higher because you don't have the same amount of space to play with, right? Because as you know, this desk density ratio when it comes to co-working industry standards accommodates the concierge, front of house, certain amenities, meeting spaces, circulation. That stuff doesn't necessarily shrink as you get to a smaller space. You need a certain amount of quantum of that for a good experience. So I think it's very conservative to bump this to 8, if not higher. And remember, that means it's still going to be dependent on your floor plan. If it's a lovely, perfect square or rectangle with no pillars, no issues, and lots of, opportunities to wrap offices and meeting rooms around the facade, you might be able to do better than that, but let's stay conservative. I would, in your modeling for this, increase it to 90% occupancy just because it's a smaller site. Supply and demand, if you've got less stock to move, I would be more confident doing this to hit a higher stabilized occupancy rate at 90%. And I would change the ramp ups to 12 months. You could even do it in 8, but let's stay at 12. Meeting room utilization, I'm going to bump to 20%. Events, I'll keep it at 5, stagnant, because unless you have an events business or partner helping you do that, it's not, I would say, smart to rely on event income, right? Even hotel businesses have full conferencing and events teams to help them with that. The key thing here when you get to a small site is you can see the headcount right now is at 3, a center manager, a community manager, and concierge. And that's a lot of heavy fixed costs for a small site, which is why the economies of scale for larger sites is around the 1,500 square meter mark plus. If you want a headcount of 3, you need more desks and offices to sell to cover those costs. For a site this small, you almost want to see if you can get away with 1.5 people, right? And the rule of thumb is try not to go to 1 or below because we're human beings at the end of the day. Unless it's integrated into a wider building management system or team or ecosystem, that person's going to get bored, that person's going to quit, that person's going to churn, and the experience is going to unfortunately suffer with it because you're not going to have that same individual hopefully staying with you for 3-4 years, remembering everyone's name, becoming really great, and promoting within your own hiring, your hierarchy, right, to keep great talent. You almost want to do it at 1 to 1.5 people for this. And the way you can get there is by managing expectations day one for this 1,000 square meter site, meaning you design it in a way that's largely self-service. The offices, you get 24/7 key cards. The front of house area may have a concierge location, but even if that person is not there, you're not reliant on that experience itself. Maybe, yes, you have community engagement at events, but it's really positioned more as a self-service space with still some human element to it. If you do it that way, I believe in these smaller sites a lot. And I actually think a lot of landlords are pursuing this and some of them are doing it correctly. When you try and reverse engineer and work backwards from a traditional co-working operation to get to a smaller one, that's when it gets tough, because you've got a lot of costs baked in that if you start peeling away, the product suffers because you haven't managed that expectation up front with what it should look like. You're taking things away from people, right? Which is not what you want to do. So if you go for the 8 square meter density, we've got 125 desks. I'll keep these listed rate. I'll reduce these listed rates slightly. You might be able to charge more depending on your location in the market, but forget the market nuances for now here. This is more around the framework for this. Boardroom, meeting room. I like these meeting room spaces. You might, if you add more, your desk density will go down slightly. I mean up, as in your desk count will go down, but remember, everyone, when it comes to meeting rooms, unless part of the thesis is it's going to be in a very populated tenant building and ecosystem that you can sell to them also, the smaller your co-working NLA, the less customers you have within that fishbowl of a community to book meeting rooms. And you might be in a scenario where you give a lot of those away for free as part of your desk package, right? Which is why we keep the meeting room occupancy only at 20% in terms of usage. We don't shoot for 40, 50, or 60 in our forecast. That's how you really burn yourself and not hit your targets. Communal event space, I'll get rid of the communal event area. We might have a private event space, fine. Market rent, we'll go with 650. Building costs, we'll go with 100. Rent escalations, 3.7%, cool. So all of these things, when you think about it's almost like part of the formula when you think about new locations. I'll close that for now. We don't need to see. Oh, my bad. I meant to close the other thing. Smaller sites tend to be more expensive per square meter, right? So the bigger site you get, the less dollar per square meter because it's blended across the whole area. So this is probably going to look more like 2,400 realistically, unless it's semi-larger private offices. If you're looking at this opportunity and it's not going to be little 4 to 6 person offices or 6 to 8s, but within the 1,000 square meter space, you've got a market for 15 to 30 person offices, so it's going to only be cut up into 5 or 6 customers, then sure, this can go back to 2,100 square meters, right? And this is within the Australian market, $2,100 per square meter. Because the main cost when it comes to co-working and flex is the partitions, the HVAC, the acoustic treatment, with lots of little small offices. So just think about all the different walls, less cost. Who pays? Landlord in this situation, tenant incentive, sure. If I go over now, this is the tough part, okay? If I bring your attention down to row 38 and 39, we still have some traditional co-working principles within the cost line items that we'll go and have a look at. But right now we're currently sitting $165 under the rent target. And even as an operator, your total income right now with the rev share, profit share, deal levers we've put in, which I won't go into, I do that in other videos, you're only earning about 120K per year. So you got to ask yourself, for a site that's small, do I want to get into this if I'm only pulling 120K margin after all the costs, the rent, all that kind of stuff's taken out? Probably not. So what do? I mean, before I even go down into, and this is where it gets really tempting to go, ooh, what if I change this to 25% meeting room occupancy? That'll bump up the revenue. That'll look really good. Ooh, what if I go events 10%? We'll get there, We'll Richard Branson it. We'll say yes and we'll figure it out on the way. It's not how it works with this kind of business model. And that's not a dig at Rich. He's amazing. And I do think from a blue sky thinking perspective, you should always say yes and then figure it out. You don't mess with those percentages. You might get lucky and be able to fit in more desks and get a higher listed rate for your desks and your meeting rooms, but we won't mess with that for now. I'm more interested in going into, before I go into costs, these 2 line items. You've got your ancillary revenue, which is your virtual addresses, your mailing, your concierge services. That could increase if you really know your business well. And your niche value add. I've got it set to only about $1,000 a month right now. This is essentially like if you've got 1,000 square meter space, and I'll end it on this topic and quickly go into costs because I don't want this to be a long video. Also, it's getting very dark, so you probably can't even see me right now. This was a better idea in my head than it's actually turning out to be. What we'll see is if it's 1,000 square meters, you've got an opportunity to cater for a specific community. Like it doesn't have to be anywhere. It could be law firms. It could be med tech. It could be sports tech. It could be, trading card businesses because of where the world's going with collectibles and Pokemon and all that kind of stuff. You don't have a lot of offices and desks to sell. So why not see if you can create a curated industry? Because once you do that, then you can think about other services that you can curate and sell to them as well as a value add. Then there's an opportunity for you to diversify your revenue stream where you're not just pegged to office desks and meeting rooms. You can evolve and do other things too. I think that's where the future of these smaller sites are. Unless you're a landlord thinking about this and watching this because you're trying to figure out your smaller spaces, you don't really need that headache. You can just get this done because there might be an opportunity for you to put in more amenities in there that you know your tenants want, so you can pull back on the rent a little bit so the space doesn't have to work as hard or be designed in a way that is more desks than amenity. That's really your decision to make when you reverse engineer from the rent target, right? So things here, like, you know, when you go through a lot of these costs, amenity and community activation, you probably don't need the same amount as a large co-working space. So we'll reduce that to $10,000 per year. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but again, if you're a landlord watching this, you could figure out how to integrate that or cross it with your building management activation program. Co-working software and platform. I've got Leica sensors here. I mean, I might get shot for saying this, but is there an opportunity to have a cheaper system there? Because now, not like a big co-working operator, you're not dealing with hundreds and hundreds of customers. You might have a small amount because it's only sub 1,000 square meters and larger offices. You know, these are the miscellaneous, like a lot of the costs for a traditional co-working space. How do we reduce that? Do your own due diligence here, but you can kind of see what I mean. There's a lot of things that are going on here that you can reduce. PR and marketing, you might not need as much for a space of this size. So broker commissions, I mean, fine, we'll leave that there. But when I go here, and we won't keep tinkering, but you can see from that soft tinkering, we've boosted the annual income to the operator slightly. I still don't think it's enough, and this is why this takes more thought than fiddling with a model. If you're looking for a smaller one, what other omni-channels of revenue do you have at your disposal? But you can already see that we've reduced that delta, right? It's now an $86 difference. So it's not as bad. And then again, you don't put this as day one, but you always look at the upside. So if you do some sensitivity analysis and we do 100% because it's small and it's full, we actually get meeting rooms at 25%, maybe event spaces, then we're in the green. We're $34 above rent. And as an operator, you're making 150K. Again, not enough. We'll figure that out. But you can see the whole dynamic between flex is that it ebbs and flows a bit. And you need to figure out what looks good, what looks bad, what's realistic, and then design it around that. So I'll stop there. Hopefully that was helpful, and I'll speak to you again soon. Oh, my butt's asleep.